Hello everyone, it's me Sato again from Low Level Cosplay, and today we are back with a new part of the Vash Cosplay series, and in this one I'm gonna show you how I made his pants, his boots, his arm and his gloves. And as usual, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content like this, and without further ado, let's do it. So let's begin with the boots. I bought these ghost boots online, and the first thing I'm gonna build for it is this small piece. This will be then traced on some heavy duty PVC. After it was cut out, I will treat it with a heat gun to bend the edges. For bending it in a 90 degrees angle, I use the edge of my table. And this is how it should look like after the bending. I was putting some holes in it off camera so I can attach some leather strips. The strips will be held in place later with some rivets. Now I'm gonna make a small test fit so that I know where I have to put the matching holes in the leather. And these are all the parts in detail. And now that I got everything for this part of the boots, I'm gonna paint the PVC in a chrome Tamiya color. It's now time for the first assemble. So this is how it looks attached, and I also screwed the bottom into the boots itself just to make sure that it's not going anywhere. To make the pattern for the front and the back side, I taped it in with some painter's tape and drew on the desired shape. Then I traced the pattern to some high dense EVA and glued the edges together. Just a quick dry fit. In the next step I'm gonna cover the EVA pieces in some black warbler. For this it will be treated with the heat gun, then laid over the EVA, and the edges will be pressed smooth. Just another quick test fitting. I will paint it with some silver rubber buff directly because I want to keep the rough structure of the warbler, and I also punched some holes in the top and the sides of this piece. While the paint is drying, I start working on the back side. It will also be covered with warbler, painted, and getting some holes on the edges. Now that the paint is dry, I will glue some normal buttons in the holes because they look like big rivets. This step will be also repeated for the backside. To attach all the parts to the boot itself, I'm gonna use some 5-minute epoxy. Now we begin with the belt arm, and this is the rough pattern that I made from a basic arm pattern that I had. The shoulder arm is from the set that I used in the pants video. And now we're gonna trace everything onto this black fox leather. These are all the main pieces that we're gonna need for the base of this arm. We begin by sewing the silver detail part onto this small flap and these two other pieces together. Now that these parts are together, we can start sewing on the undersides of these flaps. After cutting away the extra seam allowance, I'm gonna put it inside out and use a top stitch to hold everything in place. And this is how it should look like so far. The small dots on the silver are reference points for punching holes in it to attach some eyelets. In the next step I'm gonna sew the flaps on the main arm piece. So now that the flaps are on, I'm gonna attach the armor part between these two flaps with some rivets and just make sure that it's right where your elbow will be later. It's now time to close the arm up to this point. Then I'm gonna turn it inside out. After that, the hem will be folded 2 times and sewn in place with the top stitch. The top part that goes over the shoulder will also be folded and sewn in place. This is how it looks so far. I made some strips that goes over the back, under the other arm and over the chest. They will be held together with some velcro. These straps will be sewn on the back and front side of the arm. It's now time for the belts. I made them from some leftover leather parts from my Dante cosplay. The strips will be attached under the flaps with some rivets. When the first rivet is attached, the strip will be wrapped around the arm and the end of it will be also attached with the rivet. Here are some belts already attached. It is up to you how you're gonna arrange them. The same steps will be repeated for the lower arm as well. On the hem belt I'm gonna show you in detail how I attach the other belts. First of all, the end piece will be riveted in place. Because I want a buckle there, I'm gonna mark where the hole for it will be. Now that the buckle is in place, a rivet will be placed right behind it so it is locked in place. The next step is attaching a D-ring and after that again a rivet. After that I just need to mark where the other holes are going on the end of it so it can be closed with the buckle. I also added some detail eyelets because it looks kinda better. Here I'm gonna make some better damage in the armor with the scalpel. You can also use a Dremel as well, but the plastic was kinda soft. My GF is doing the weathering here for me. She used just some cheap acrylic brown and beige paint for it. It's brushed on and smeared around with a sponge, and the extra paint is wiped away with the tissue paper. The same weathering was also used for the whole cosplay. After the main arm is done, I start working on the gloves. And I start with this weirdly shaped piece that will go later on the backside of the glove. Now I will sew the sandwich together, and the underside is a bit bigger so that I can trim it to size later. The first seams are about 1.5 cm parallel to each other, and then I sew the edge of this piece. This is how it looks so far, and it's now time to cut the extra away. For the next step you're gonna need these long strips that will be sewn on the edge like shown. After the strip is attached on one side, it will be folded over the edge and sewn in place. This step will be repeated 3 times, but 2 of them are shaped a little bit differently. I punched some holes in the edges so that it can be attached with rivets on the glove. And this is how it looks attached. For the rings on the fingers, I molded them in Fusion 360 and then I printed a few different sizes of them. These are the finished printed rings. Just a quick test to see if they fit. After that I painted them in the Tamiya Chrome Silver. Now that they are painted, I glue them onto the glove with a drop of super glue on the sides. And it's now time for the final review. So this was a tutorial. I know it's not good, but it's okay in my opinion, as usual. And if you want, you can leave a comment down below what you like, what you dislike, what I can improve, or maybe what you want to see in next and the future videos. And if you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing to this channel. It helps me a lot and keeps this channel growing and the videos coming. And a quick announcement, I will be at the Dokumi convention next month, Saturday as Dante from Devil May Cry 5 and Sunday as Vash from Trigun. Yes, and maybe we can see us there, and until then, have a great day, and I'm out. Bye.